Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you all to this very important press conference as a collective organizations of civil society. We appreciate your usual timely intervention in reshaping policies of government and strengthening constitutional provisions of our dear country, Nigeria. Our role as civil society is to ensure total compliance with constitutional provisions and on egalitarian society to citizens, for citizens of Nigeria. Gentlemen of the press, we have watched with keen interest the unfortunate incursion of democracy by some judicial officers, people who have sworn to protect the Constitution and its sovereignty, but instead betray their oath of office by sabotaging democracy and its tenets in Benue State. Over the years, the Nigerian judiciary have distinguished itself by interpreting the law, which has strengthened democracy and governance, but for a few bad eggs in the system, whose actions are tarnishing the image and integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. Recent events involving the Benue State judiciary is an example worthy of mention. The Benue State House of Assembly passed a resolution and recommended the removal of the Chief Judge of Benue State, Honorable Maurice Ikpambese, based on petitions received on the alleged misconduct, abuse of office, among other infractions. The House relied on Section 292, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which states that the Chief Judge of a state can be removed from office if it is backed by 2/3 majority of the State House of Assembly. The National Judicial Council is a body saddled with the responsibility to discipline judicial officers. Let it be on record that there is no part of the Constitution that empowers the National Judicial Council to remove a chief judge from office, but to discipline and recommend same to the governor of a state, who has the powers to remove a chief judge if found wanting. In the case of Benue State, we have investigated the entire process and discovered that the NJC is in receipt of several petitions against Justice Maurice Ikpambese, but has deliberately refused to investigate him. Since 2010, there have been petitions against him even before he became Chief Judge of Benue State. In fact, for the NJC statement that it received a petition against Justice Maurice Ikpambese just on Monday, 19 February 2025, is misleading. Our findings show that the 19 February petition was the latest in recent times. Outside this petition, there are other petitions, including the one acknowledged by the NJC itself on the 2nd of December 2024, which is yet to be investigated even now. And if it has, we have not gotten a white paper report on any of such interventions for investigations. Most worrisome is the political waiver granted by the embattled Chief Judge of Benue State, Justice Ikpambese, to petitioners of the Local Government Election Petition Tribunal, which is a clear case of bias, favoritism, compromise, and political interest. It is unholy for a chief judge of a state who set up the election petition tribunal panel and also constituted the appeal panel to have shown such bias, which is already a miscarriage of justice. It is obvious that under Justice Ikpambese, the judiciary is dead in Benue State, which have become remarkable in the visible attempt to make a mockery of democracy in that state. We wish to state in a clear term that it is within our constitutional rights to insist that the NJC, NBA, and other relevant bodies to do the needful by allowing justice to prevail out, but under Ikpangbase as the chief judge, Benue State judiciary has collapsed. We strongly call on the Benue State governor and the State House of Assembly not to succumb to the antics of the political enemies within and outside Benue State, who are now using some officials to distract this current purposeful and working government in Benue State. While we give the NJC an ultimatum of 48 hours to constitute panel, investigate, and prosecute Justice Ikpangbase for the wrongful act of compromise, sabotage, and bias, we recommend that the governor of Benue State, Reverend Father Hyacinth Yomen Alia, to immediately swear in the next judge in line with the acting chief judge of Benue State. In an ideal society, Justice Ikpangbase should have stepped aside to pave way for proper investigation, but instead, he was quoted on Sunday, 23rd February 2025, during a church program that he personally selected judges that would be too difficult for the governor to access. This is a clear testimony that he has compromised every step of the judiciary, including the local government election petition tribunal and its judgment. The people no longer trust Ikpangbase to preside over the affairs of the judiciary, as he has permitted and waived the security deposit as required by the law in favor of a section of the political class. We call on the Attorney General of the Federation to immediately intervene and ensure that constitutional provision of the rights and privileges of the Benue State House of Assembly members, as well the constitutional powers of the executive governor, who has the powers to remove a chief judge in line with Section 292 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, should be exercised in this current scenario. We make bold to state that failure of the NJC and the Attorney General of the Federation to read the Riot Act to Justice Ikpangbase and advise him to step aside, we shall occupy the NJC in a mass protest to press home our demand. We will not do this to save democracy and we will do this to save democracy and restore order in Benue State. We will do everything possible to ensure that a peaceful Benue State is not thrown into political crisis and the good governance people are now enjoying in the state is not corrupted by some individuals who are suspected to be agents of opposition political parties in Benue State or otherwise. Thank you. In a simple recap, I want to bring to the fore that we are not just here to make statements that are unfounded. Here with me is an evidence of a waiver granted on the approval for a waiver for payment of deposit for security by prospective petitioners. Yes, the offense committed here is that, of course, you know that it is against the law that people that have paid all the necessary fees, you come to grant them a waiver on security fee. It's not done anywhere in Nigeria. It's not acceptable. That is one of the major crux of this issue. And here, we have copies of letters that have been sent to NJC long before 2025, and yet there have not been investigation. There have not been any effort to restore sanity to the judicial system of Benue State. This calls for action. And when there is supposed to be action, in order to make it rowdy, we, the civil society groups, come out to explain the narrative to both the government and the civil populace so that there will be a clearer picture of what has happened. Now, there is a reaction by NJC on the purported sack of the Benue State Chief Judge. The response to this, we will say that yes, of course, the onus is on National Judicial Council to investigate and regulate and discipline judges. But the onus for the removal of a judge, as quoted in section 292, I think, earlier in my press text, I stand to be corrected, remains the basic and fundamental step for the removal, which lies on the governor. Now, what are we trying to bring out here? In all and in summary, it is important that all agencies of accountability are being brought in to ensure that the right thing is done so that the judicial system of Benue State will be back on track again for the people to enjoy democracy. Of course, you all are aware that democracy stands on a tripod stand. And once one stand is defective, of course, expect the collapse of the democracy in that particular scenario. And it is on these grounds that we are now, as civil society, asking that an express action be taken on the request we have placed here. Else, we resort to a peaceful protest that will register this in the mind of Nigerians for posterity's sake. We shall not remain on the fence as far as this issue is concerned. We'll come out all to make the world know that it is time to get it right. Thank you and good morning.